Hi again, this is Professor Innes, and sorry about not posting a video last week, but the YouTube system wasn't working. It is now working for me, so I can produce these videos for you. Right, so you've finished ethics, and you're now embarking upon doing epistemology. Now, with epistemology, we've got a branch of philosophy which is fundamental to philosophy itself, and it is asking the question about knowledge. Not only what is knowledge, but how we come about gaining knowledge. Both are problematic. So, do I know what knowledge is? And if I do know what it is, secondly, how do I come about getting that knowledge? So we emphasize that bit all the way through epistemology, and it is problematic. And we're going to find out that Locke and Descartes are going to provide answers to this. Of course, they're very problematic, as we said, with the ethical thinkers putting forward their arguments. Very problematic. How do we know they're correct? They're true. But Locke and Descartes nonetheless put forward their theories about how we gain our knowledge. So we're going to look at those two arguments. Of course, both of them are highly problematic. At least Locke is more analytical in the sense, well, yeah, we'll say analytical, in the sense that he's aware of the problems, and the problems of knowledge, and about stating knowledge claims. Descartes is a lot more, how should we say, a lot more optimistic. I'll say optimistic about the gaining of knowledge, but his argument is flawed right from the start. The apparent inadequacies of the argument in and of itself are problematic, as we're going to understand. So take note of my videos when talking about Descartes and the problems of Descartes' argument. With these arguments, as with ethics, please don't say that you don't like them, or in my opinion, or whatever. You don't need to do that. All you need to do is look at the argument itself and realize the flaws. So with Descartes, for example, you're going to realize his proof for the existence of God is inadequate. And his argument is based upon God providing us with a view of the external world. Now, if you can't prove God's existence through his argument, then the provision of the view of the external world to the mind is going to be inadequate. So view Descartes in that way. We're going to go through this in a lot more detail and a lot more slowly when we get to Descartes. But nonetheless, we've got these two philosophers, and they're going to provide us with explanations for how we come about knowledge, and if there is a certainty of knowledge. So that's the argument of epistemology. It's that idea of us trying to find out if there is such thing as true knowledge. Now, to start off with, now I've given an overview of what you're going to do in epistemology with these two particular philosophers. What we need to do now is highlight the essential problem found within epistemology. What the epistemologist says here within the Western world of philosophy is that we have this thing called a mind, and this mind is where all our knowledge is stored, all where it's considered. It's our consciousness, we'll say. We'll say it's our consciousness. Now, we are, according to the philosophers here, definitely the early moderns onwards, the only animals on planet Earth that are capable of this type of knowledge, because it's contemplative knowledge. It considers what is true, what is not true, and it can dismiss things, and it can accept things. So we're quite unique in that sense of us being human beings, and we do have to reject the idea that there are animals out there other than ourselves which have this capability. So it's us human beings. Now, of course, there's recent research to put doubt upon this, such as with dolphins, gorillas, other sorts of monkeys as well, that have the ability for knowledge. But we'll leave that aside for the time being and just concentrate on ourselves, namely us humans. So we have this mind with all this knowledge which is gained from the external world. But the problem is that this mind is detached from the external world. It claims to know it, but it's not in contact with it. What the mind does is gain all this raw data from the 5 senses, such as taste, touch, smell, and so forth, sight as well, and all that raw data is channeled to the brain, and then the mind makes sense of this raw data. It assesses it and makes conclusions. Now, again, this is all fair and well, as far as the gaining of knowledge is concerned, but it's based upon the presumption that the mind has made a correct assessment. We've got no assurity that the mind has made a correct assessment because it's dealing with information second-hand. The mind is not in direct contact with that physical world, therefore how can it make an assessment about that physical world? So when I smell the rose, my mind tells me this is the smell of the rose, but does the mind actually have that sense of saying here that it is smelling the rose? Now, it's been receiving the information that this is a rose and this is the scent of the rose, but is that the information gained by the mind? Well, we don't know. We can't say it for true because, again, the mind is not in direct contact with the physical world. It's merely interpreting that sense data given by the sense of smell. It is the nose which is in contact with the rose scent, and the mind thereafter makes sense of that data given by the sense of smell. So it's the mind not smelling the rose, it's the mind making sense of the sense data. So we emphasize that bit. We have the idea as philosophers that is a problem. And likewise with anything whatsoever that you're detached from and you have no direct contact with, then it is problematic to say that you know about it. So that's the essential problem. So if that makes sense, and you understand that to be a philosophical problem, then the rest of epistemology is straightforward. All you have to do is look at Locke and Descartes, for example, in this course, look at their theories to try and attempt to say that we have a view of the world which is in some way somewhat reliable as far as Locke is concerned, or as Descartes has tried to do, providing 100% certainty. We look at these arguments and we assess them to see how much they've succeeded. If they have not succeeded, then we've got problems in knowledge claims. I cannot make knowledge claims in the future if I don't have the direct contact with the physical world. And these arguments do not allow me to bridge that gap between the mind and the physical world. So, for example, if Descartes' use of mathematics and physics does not provide that certainty, then I can't say that he solved the problem. So you're going to do this with these two epistemologies and assess their arguments. So hopefully that's made sense as far as epistemology is concerned. It's a tricky subject, so like the slippery fish, 1 minute you've got it, the next minute you haven't. But relax with epistemology and just have it understood. Just stick to the idea that the mind is detached from the physical world, yet it claims to know about that physical world. That is problematic. Right, so let me know if you've got any questions about epistemology, but before I go, keep in mind that epistemology, like we said, is fundamental to philosophy. It questions knowledge claims. Now, you've done this with ethics already, that people have this assumption that they know what is right and wrong. But, how is that the case? With epistemology, you're going to have a full understanding that these knowledge claims to do with morality are possibly just opinions. Now, if they're just opinions, then why am I listening to them? Why am I listening to this argument put forward by this person that I don't know? Corporal punishment should be reintroduced to the schools. Again, the person puts forward a sound argument, possibly a sound argument. It's not always the case that it's a sound argument. It could be just a trail of disconnected opinions. But they put forward this argument, and you think, okay, I can either take it or leave it, but I've got no way of saying that this argument is valid, therefore certain. I can say it's sound, therefore there's a note of probability that there's good points made, but I can't say it's a valid argument, and validity says here that the two premises, or number of premises support the conclusion, therefore I have to accept that conclusion. That doesn't happen with these arguments. So therefore, we have numerous arguments set out for how we should carry out our moral conduct. I just don't know, which one I should choose, says the philosopher. I've got no evidence to say one is better than the other. Likewise, when you get to politics, for example, in this course, you're going to look at these different theories, and as you look at the different parties in the big wide world, what's to say one is better than the other? In America, we only have the Democrats and the Republicans, essentially speaking. I know there are other parties out there, but realistically, they're the only two which are going to be in government. And we say, okay, which one am I going to choose? Right, the more distance you get from these two parties, the more they look the same. So if you go and examine, say, fascism on the right and communism on the left, you're going to think to yourself, these two parties are really the same as each other. I can't say which one's better than the other. Maybe I'm going to vote for the person because, for the party because the person in charge has more charisma than the other one. Maybe I don't like millionaires. Well, you're going to have problems these days because both Democrats and Republicans are millionaires. So when they stand for government, so that's not going to help. So how do you choose which one's the better party? Likewise with political theory, which one's the better political theory? Is it going to be Hobbes's authoritarianism or Locke's liberalism? Which one's it going to be? Again, knowledge claims demand that we have this validity, that the thing put forward is 100% true. With these arguments, there's no validity. We have soundness, maybe. We have a sound position. But with Locke and Hobbes arguing for authoritarianism and Locke for liberalism, they're just as sound as each other. It may be the case you don't like authoritarianism, but it's still a sound argument. You might not like liberalism either, but again, it's a sound argument. And it's just as sound as the argument which you're going to accept. So does that mean that you shouldn't really accept that particular argument just because you like it in preference to other arguments? So that's when you're in a position of doubt. As with an epistemology, you'll doubt things. You just don't have this idea that what you're seeing is necessarily true. It sounds sound, but do you accept it just because it sounds okay to you as a sound argument? Well, so hopefully that direction there made some sense in the way that we're going to apply epistemological examinations to politics as well, just as if you've done to ethics hitherto. Okay, so I think that will do for now. Please let me know if you need anything. Best to use this thing here, the mobile phone, for contacting me if you need something. By all means use the email, but don't expect me to get back to you very quickly. I don't think emails should be used anymore, but people still like to use emails. So text is far better. Please contact me by text if you can do so. Right, but let me know anything you need. That's what I'm here for. That's my job in this course. Right, and let me know if these videos are any help whatsoever. So specifically for this course, they're not for any general view of epistemology or politics or anything. They're just for this course, and they're erased straight away afterwards. All right, okay. Good luck with everything, and let me know if you need anything at all. See you later.